spotted Bigfoot in Cleveland County, and this isn't the first time. The legend continues. One man in Kaiser says he encountered the mythic beast just last week.
Whether it's during the bright hours of the day or the grueling, terrifying hours of the dark night, Bigfoot is a force to be reckoned with. Despite reaching a maximum height of 15 feet, this terrifying, intelligent creature can camouflage just out of the corner of your eye and surprise you in the unlikeliest of places, while scientists continue to deny it from you. Who doesn't love a good ATV drive in the woods, especially with your pals? Enjoying the woodlands that surround you, taking in everything that Mother Nature has to offer, not to mention on a really sweet ride. However, no matter where you are in the world, it's always best to keep an eye on your surroundings, which, unfortunately, these two buddies didn't do, and may have almost cost them some serious injuries. The video starts off with these two pals joking about their lives, talking about girls they've met, you know, typical friend conversations. Being so engulfed in their topic, however, they completely miss the first red flag that they would encounter. A cleverly placed obstacle of a tree branch blocks their path as they delve further into the brush, but thinking nothing of it, and continuing on with their banters. The camera pans to the driver, who laughs at one of their jokes, when suddenly we see a large, dark figure run alongside their ATV, trying its best to catch up with them. These two are oblivious though, and mayhaps have just thankfully missed a very serious situation that may have cut their fun adventure to a bitter, short end. I find the woods to be a wonderful place to go hiking with your partner, but after this video, I'm definitely second-guessing my choices. Two hikers innocently were enjoying their day until they came upon a specific path that looked rather worn down by something that wasn't man-made. They point to what appears to be large steps that were taken, as well as oddly placed stacked rocks far off in the distance. The couple proceed to let their curiosity take the better of them, and eventually decide on having a spirit box session to see if there is anything abnormal happening around them. Just then, they finally see off in the distance what was probably the cause of the strange formations from early on, describing the figure to alternate between sitting and standing, and even noticing its head and eyes. And then, the spirit box even corrects them by saying it only has one eye. The two of them proceed to then continue on with the spirit box to find out more information about whoever or whatever was out there with them. The next video I'm about to show you starts off as sweet and innocent. A simple father enjoying some quality time with his child in the backyard, playing alongside him with his new toy car. Just then, we hear a bellowing growl from the woods just across from them. Thankfully, the child doesn't seem to notice or become scared, but the father jumps at the opportunity to quickly get the both of them inside. As the camera pans towards the sound, we see the large, dark figure quickly jump away from sight, the leaves and branches crunching heavily beneath its feet as it lets out another intense growl. The video ends abruptly, leaving us with even more questions as to what could have happened next. It's bad enough stumbling upon one Bigfoot, but what are the odds you accidentally run into multiple? That's exactly what happens to these two hikers here in Mark Twain National Forest, quickly pulling out their camera to explain what had just happened to them. First, they go on to explain what they had heard the first time was just the sound of doves and thought nothing of it until they got closer to a lake. A disgusting smell overtook them, inviting them closer to get to see what could be making such an awful stench. Just as they got there, they notice a herd of large gray creatures run off back into the woods, creating that same dove-like sound. The sound even proceeded to go as far as follow them as they tried to head back to a familiar area, leaving them questioning what it was that they saw and what were those strange sounds the creatures were making. They tried to rationalize it with hogs and other animals, but none of those made enough sense. Whatever they are, they were loud, and watching them too. You'd think come winter, Bigfoot would also be hibernating as well, right? Well, apparently not. What appears to be a group of family members trying to enjoy their skiing trip seem to be distracted by something on top of a hill near the lodge. You can see them as they walk around confused, looking upwards at the hill trying to make out what they're actually witnessing in those tall, dark pines. Then we finally see it, almost perfectly camouflaged against the brown bark from above. Interestingly enough, Bigfoot himself looks like just as curious towards the onlookers, making me question if this specific Sasquatch has ever come this close before to other people. He stands there for a moment to observe before making its way back into the forest. If he ever were to come back, let's hope it's not to get any closer. To catch this Bigfoot in such an open space is terrifying, and thankfully these tourists were far enough away not to be face to face with the creature itself. Throughout the video, we hear people clicking their cameras and watching in awe as the Sasquatch walks around the plains before taking a comfortable seat down in the dirt, almost as if it's waiting to pose for the camera itself. As if being in a zoo, it's much more comfortable seeing this creature at such a far distance, since we have no idea how they would react to people. Even seeing it from this far, it appears much larger than the average person. It's even interesting to see how well the Bigfoot blends into its surroundings, almost appearing invisible as its fur matches the bushes around it. Maybe you wouldn't have even noticed it yourself from simply walking by it. It's easier to not be as terrified of the woods, and maybe even Bigfoot when it's still bright enough outside to see everything. But what about in the dead of night? In this video, a group of expeditioners purposely go out into the woods at night to catch their Bigfoot. What may have started out as unlucky findings turns out to be one of the scariest things to encounter on a thermal reader. Maria, the woman in the video, is absolutely flabbergasted by what she catches on the reader, explaining that she can even see it being reflected off the water and it growing larger as it adjusts itself. Her co-star Ronnie, the other man in the video, attempts to keep his voice low as he tries to contact her, but to no avail. Her attention is too focused on the large creature, giving off intense heat signals right in front of her. Whatever it may be, a bear or a deer, the readings indicate that it's something large and to be cautious of. Would you be brave enough to chase down a 15-foot creature? Because that's exactly what this person did after seeing a large, bear-like monster run across a road on 2 feet. He proceeds to yell to someone off camera to get back inside the house, as he proceeds to hunt down the beast, tripping over branches and logs in the process. He follows the breaking of branches and any Bigfoot calls that he could hear, making sure he was right on its heels the entire time. He then eventually catches up to the large creature, staying far enough away as to not be noticed while he films his encounter. His labored breathing makes it all the more eerie, as it makes me want to hold my breath for him in hopes of not being noticed. He manages to film just a bit more until he turns off the camera for good, noticing that its calls were becoming more and more aggressive the longer he followed the creature for, a clear sign that any second longer could place him in serious danger. This next video comes to us from Indiana by Josh Banker. It's always a good idea to keep trail cameras up and running overnight for protection, whether it be from people exploring the woods or by wild creatures. And that's exactly what Josh here caught. The next morning after the incident occurred, Josh couldn't believe what he witnessed on his game camera, clearly showing a large, furry creature on 2 legs run across the screen. Josh was so terrified that he felt the need to start protecting himself whenever he left the house, especially after hearing from neighbors that they also reported screams at night. To add on, Josh and a couple of his family members also captured footage of the beast's large footprints in the mud, even snapping a comparison photo of his own next to the print. Whatever this thing was, it was twice the size of an average male footprint. Who knows what the actual height of this creature could be? Our last clip is probably the scariest of all. For the entirety of this video, the people in them were lucky enough to have their cameras at such a great enough distance from their Bigfoots, but not in this one. Here we see the Bigfoot in its full glory, and not in the best of moods. It aggressively snaps a large branch right in front of the tent, causing the material of the camper's home to shake under its brute force. Thankfully, the poster was nowhere near when this happened, having strapped their trail cam to a tree just to observe what could have happened overnight. And what they got was sure a surprise. The video is probably the best comparison in height we are able to capture, seeing as it straightens itself out and displays for us how ginormous this beast truly is right next to the tent. Bigfoot is not your typical Yogi Bear, especially if it's having a bad day such as this one. I'd stay clear from it if you know what's good for you.